Stevie?
Absolutely not playing. I mean, do you think Alex Ferguson would have played him if he was the manager? Or if this was Man United? Not a chance. Dalglish, any of these guys, none of them would have played him. Absolutely, Thomas Tuchel did the right thing.
The point that the boys were making yesterday, Stevie, was the fact that this was a game that they had to win. And the fact of the matter is that if you spoke to the senior players, they would want Lukaku in this starting 11 because they knew that the chances were better of them taking 3 points off Liverpool with him in the side as opposed to...
Oh, is that right? Oh, you think that's 100%? So because Lukaku plays, then Chelsea win the game. Let me tell you, there's one thing.
Well, do they have a better chance with Lukaku in the starting 11?
Well, if you let me answer, I'll tell you. No.
Go on.
No, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it wasn't the best thing to do to play him. Have you ever thought? Joe said it yesterday on the show. Half of the stadium was against Lukaku and half of the stadium was for Lukaku. Now, if Lukaku starts the game badly and the crowd gets on him, now you've got Lukaku, whatever, then it starts affecting the rest of the team. Then the whole crowd's against them. The fact was the stadium was on fire. Everybody was behind every single Chelsea player. All the Chelsea players were fired up. They wanted to prove a point as well. The fact that they've got involved and said they didn't think it was right either. Every way you want to look at it is correct. And the little argument of, well, you need to win the game. So you just blow every sort of disciplinary action or anything that goes on at a football club, and Nedum said it. As soon as you know, there was another thing Frank said, by the way. Frank was talking about, you've got to play him. It's not a schoolboy. Well, it's completely the other way. It's not schoolboy, it's professional. And there has to be discipline amongst professionals. And he was 100% right. Thomas Tuchel was 100% right. And for everything you can throw, and the only one that stands up is, well, you need to win the game. That is the one thing that you would consider. There's about 100 other ones that say this is why he's not playing. And they picked the right one. And Tuchel was absolutely 100% correct.
Robbo?
Well, let's get it straight. It looks to me as though Tuchel doesn't really fancy Lukaku at all. Because I saw him for 2 years at Inter where he was absolutely magnificent and he probably touched the ball 60 times in a game because everything was played through him. He was good with his back to goal. At the start of the season, he played up front by himself and he probably had 10, 11 touches. They were just seeing him as a goal scorer. He's not just a goal scorer. He proved that at Inter. So I think Thomas Tuchel doesn't fancy him. Lukaku knows that. That's why he's gone to the press and say, I want out at some point. He's wrong to do that. Tuchel's right to leave him out the side. But overall, Tuchel doesn't fancy him, and he's going to be out of Chelsea come the end of the season, probably.
Don, if Tuchel came to you as a senior Chelsea player and asked you what he should do, whether or not Lukaku should play in this big game against Liverpool, what would your response be?
I would be exactly like Stevie. I think for the greater good of the team and the greater good of the dressing room, he couldn't play. And who's to say Chelsea would have got that result if he was in the starting 11, because I thought Chelsea were outstanding. I listened to an interview today, and it was an old one by Jose Mourinho, and he was talking about Lukaku, and he was talking about the individual and his character, and he said Lukaku needs to be the type of guy that needs an arm around his shoulder, and he needs 100% love and affection, and he needs to be told that he's the man. And if he gets all of that, he will be the man, because he's a phenomenal player. I'm not so sure Thomas Tuchel's that type of manager. I think Thomas Tuchel's a little bit, if you don't toe the line, there's discipline here, which is the right way to go. You're going to be treated the same as everyone else. If you step out of line, you're going to be punished and you're going to be disciplined. That has to be the way to go. And it might have been a smart move from Thomas Tuchel anyway, because he might have believed the form that Chelsea are in, they weren't really title contenders. Their form's been average at best over the last 5 or 6 games. So it was a great, I wouldn't say a card to use, but as Stevie said, the atmosphere inside the stadium was absolutely behind Thomas Tuchel, every single Chelsea player. It might have been divisive if he played in that game. And the result that Chelsea got, it might just show that Lukaku's not the man, even though he's a brilliant player, and he will be welcomed back in. And hopefully he gets his confidence back. But in that one game against Liverpool, I thought Thomas Tuchel was correct.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.